Let me ask you something you've heard your entire life. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Your parents said it, your teachers said it, cereal boxes shout it. It's repeated so often that it feels like a basic law of nature. But here's a question almost nobody stops to ask. Is it actually true? Or is it one of the most successful pieces of marketing in history, dressed up as health advice? Today, we're putting this famous claim on trial. I'm asking 3 questions. 1. Where did this most important meal idea even come from, and who profited from it? 2. What does the real science say about eating breakfast versus skipping it? And 3. What should you actually do, especially after 40? Now, one honest promise. By the end, you won't get a lazy yes or no. You'll get the balanced truth, because the real answer is more interesting and more freeing than either side of the argument. Let's investigate. Let's start with a piece of history that genuinely surprises people. That famous phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, didn't come from doctors carefully studying the human body. A huge part of its power came from the food industry. In the early days of packaged breakfast cereals, companies had a brand new product to sell, and they needed people to believe that eating a big breakfast, ideally their cereal, was essential for good health. That message was pushed through advertising again and again for decades, until it stopped feeling like an advert and started feeling like a fact. This is one of the most powerful tricks in marketing. Repeat something often enough for long enough, and it becomes common knowledge, even if the evidence behind it is shaky. So before we even look at the science, we already have a clue. A big part of why we all believe breakfast is sacred is because someone, somewhere, had cereal to sell. But that doesn't automatically make it false. So let's look honestly at the actual evidence. When people defend breakfast, they usually point to studies showing that people who eat breakfast tend to be healthier, slimmer, with better habits, lower risk of certain problems. And those studies are real. But here's the trap, and it's one of the most important ideas in all of health science. Correlation is not causation. Just because 2 things happen together does not mean one causes the other. Think about who eats a calm, regular breakfast every morning. Often, they're people with more settled, organized, health-conscious lives. They also tend to sleep better, exercise more, and eat better overall. And think about who often skips breakfast. People rushing out the door, stressed, sleep-deprived, grabbing junk later, or skipping for chaotic reasons. So when studies show breakfast eaters are healthier, it may not be the breakfast itself doing the magic. It may be everything else about their lifestyle. The breakfast might just be a marker of an organized life, not the cause of good health. To untangle this, scientists needed a better kind of study. So scientists ran more careful experiments, the kind where they actually assigned some people to eat breakfast and others to skip it, then compare them fairly. And the results surprised a lot of people. When you control for everything else, the magical powers of breakfast start to fade. For most healthy adults, simply eating breakfast did not automatically cause weight loss, and skipping it did not automatically cause weight gain or wreck their metabolism, the way the old story claimed. In other words, the idea that breakfast is some non-negotiable, must-do meal for everyone, that turns out to be far weaker than we were all told. For a healthy adult, whether you eat breakfast or not is much more of a personal choice than a strict health rule. So does that mean breakfast is bad and you should all start skipping it? No. And this is where lazy thinking on both sides gets it wrong. Because for some people, breakfast genuinely does help. The truth, as usual, lives in the nuance. Let's tackle the question directly. Is skipping breakfast actually harmful? For most healthy adults, no, it isn't inherently bad. In fact, many people around the world naturally aren't hungry first thing in the morning, and they do perfectly well waiting a few hours to eat. This is part of why eating patterns like time-restricted eating have become popular. For some people, a later first meal suits their body and their day just fine. Your body does not fall apart if you don't eat the moment you wake up. It's perfectly capable of running smoothly until you're genuinely hungry. So if you're someone who just isn't hungry in the morning and you feel good, focused, and energetic without breakfast, You do not have to force food down out of guilt or an old rule. Forcing yourself to eat when your body isn't asking for it isn't healthy. It's just obedience to a slogan. But, and this is the crucial other half, that absolutely does not mean breakfast is useless. For a lot of people, it's genuinely valuable. Let's see who, because here's the balanced flip side. For many people, breakfast is genuinely a great idea. First, if you wake up genuinely hungry, eating breakfast simply makes sense. Listen to that signal. Second, some people find that skipping breakfast backfires badly. They get hangry, shaky, irritable, can't concentrate, and then overeat later in the day, often grabbing whatever junk is nearest. For these people, a solid breakfast steadies their energy and helps them make better choices all day. Third, breakfast can be a brilliant opportunity to get important nutrients and protein early, which, as many people over 40 know, matters for keeping muscle strong. Fourth, for certain groups, like growing children, some older adults at risk of not eating enough, and people with certain health conditions, regular meals including breakfast can be genuinely important. So breakfast isn't a villain at all. For the right person, eaten the right way, it's a wonderful habit. The mistake was never breakfast itself. The mistake was turning a personal choice into a one-size-fits-all command. So if breakfast, yes or no, isn't the real question, then what is? Here's the part the cereal adverts never wanted you to focus on. What matters far more than whether you eat breakfast is what you eat and your overall diet across the whole day. Think about it. A breakfast of sugary cereal, a sweet pastry, and a sugary drink might technically be eating breakfast, but it can spike your blood sugar and leave you crashing and hungry an hour later. Is that really better than no breakfast at all? Meanwhile, someone who skips breakfast but eats balanced, nourishing meals for the rest of the day may be doing perfectly well. The old rule made us obsess over the wrong thing, the timing of one meal, while ignoring the thing that actually shapes your health, the quality of your food, and the balance of your whole day. So if you do eat breakfast, the smart move isn't just to tick the box, it's to choose something nourishing, protein, fiber, real food, rather than sugar in a bowl. Quality beats the ritual every single time. So let's land the plane. Is breakfast the most important meal of the day? As a universal one-size-fits-all rule for every human being, that's largely a myth, amplified by marketing. But is breakfast good or bad? Neither on its own. The honest, freeing truth is this: the best approach depends on you. Some people genuinely thrive on a good breakfast and feel terrible without it. Those people should absolutely eat it. Others feel light, focused, and great waiting a few hours to eat. And they shouldn't force food down just because a slogan told them to. The real skill isn't following a rule someone else made up. It's tuning into your own body. Are you genuinely hungry in the morning? Does eating early give you steady energy or make you sluggish? Do you eat better the rest of the day with breakfast or without it? Experiment gently, pay attention, and let your own experience, not a cereal advert from decades ago, guide what works for you. That's not just good nutrition advice, that's freedom. Now please listen carefully, because do what works for you has a few important exceptions. First and most important, if you have diabetes or take any medication for blood sugar, especially insulin or certain tablets, do not change your meal timing or start skipping breakfast based on a video. For you, skipping meals can cause your blood sugar to drop dangerously. Always follow your doctor's guidance on when and how to eat. Second, if you are pregnant, have any chronic health condition, or take medication that needs to be taken with food, your meal pattern may genuinely matter. Check with your doctor before changing it. Third, and very important, this video is not encouraging anyone to skip meals to eat less or lose weight. If you ever find yourself skipping food in an unhealthy way, feeling anxious or guilty around eating, or struggling with your relationship with food, please reach out to a doctor or a qualified professional. Food should nourish you, not stress you. The message here is simple and gentle. Eat in a way that genuinely makes your body feel good, and when you have any health condition, build that plan with your doctor. So let's step back, because this is about far more than breakfast. The real lesson here is about how easily a claim can become a fact just by being repeated enough times. Breakfast is the most important meal was said so often for so long that almost the entire world accepted it without ever asking for proof. And it makes you wonder, how many other health rules do we follow simply because we've heard them 1,000 times? How much of what we believe about food, our bodies, and our health is real science, and how much is just clever marketing that hardened into common sense? This is why a little healthy skepticism is one of the most valuable tools you own. The next time you hear a confident, catchy health rule, especially one that conveniently sells a product, pause and ask, where did this actually come from? What's the real evidence? And does it actually apply to me? Thinking for yourself instead of obeying slogans might just be the healthiest habit of all. So there it is, the verdict on breakfast is the most important meal of the day. As a universal rule forced on everyone, mostly a myth, polished by decades of marketing. But breakfast itself? It's neither hero nor villain. It's a personal choice. If you wake up hungry and breakfast gives you steady energy and a better day, eat it and choose something nourishing. If you're not hungry and you feel great waiting, you're not doing anything wrong. What truly matters isn't the timing of one meal. It's the quality of your food and the balance of your whole day. And above all, listen to your own body, not a slogan. Just remember the safety part. If you have diabetes, are pregnant, or have any health condition, talk to your doctor before changing how you eat. Free yourself from the guilt, think for yourself, and eat in the way that genuinely makes you feel your best. If this video freed you from one old myth, share it with someone who still feels guilty for skipping breakfast, or who forces it down every morning out of habit. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.